Welcome to the Poor Man's Gourmet Kitchen, where we share gourmet recipes at a low-budget wonder. Now check this out. Here I've got a 1.5 pound rack of lamb, and the first thing I like to do is remove the fat from the upper part of the ribs. You can continue to French in between the bones, but it's not necessary. But this is a large portion that can come right off, and you can grill this separately. The silver skin strip can also be removed so the meat's not chewy. The cleanest way I know how to do it is to lay the blade flat on its side, and applying pressure on the meat you can slowly slice with the sharp edge of the blade underneath the silver skin. It's a little bit tedious to do, but if you're careful and you work it back and forth, you won't hack up your lamb chops. And to be quite honest with you, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It all depends on who I'm serving and how hungry I am. But if you do it right, you'll have one smooth rack of lamb. And if we flip it over here, you can see it's nice and clean on the bottom as well. And you can grill it whole, or you can cut it into threes like I'm doing here, and leaving the fat end of the other two bones. It's the closest way to keep them all portioned. Now, just a little salt and pepper is all you're going to need. Make sure you get the tops as well as the bottom. You want to get the sides as well, but you can just dab that up off your cutting board. Now, over medium-high heat, you want to lay these face down, meat side down, first. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and lay down those fat pieces I cut off the lamb, too. Because as you can see, there's still some good meat portions on these after all. Now you want to just drop the lid for 10 minutes. Then just give them each a quick flip. And as you can see, we're getting some color. I'm going to go ahead and flip over the lamb bacon as well. And get ready for our next step. Now here I'm making pesto. And if you don't have a recipe for this, I highly recommend mine. You can, of course, buy this pre-made in a jar from the store. But if you want it to taste great, fresh herbs is the way to go. And this sauce literally only takes 10 minutes to make. And all you gotta do is spoon this on the lamb chop and spread it out evenly. And as you spend the next 5 minutes grilling the bottom of these lamb chops, that nutty flavor, that garlic and those herbs can soak right into that meat. By now my lamb bacon should be done. Nice and crispy. Look at this piece here. Juicy. And now you want to just flip these over, pesto side down. Another 5 minutes. 20 minutes in its entirety. And when they're done, they should look something like this. I mean, who can argue with that lamb chop? Not this guy. Now you want to go ahead and just let these sit for about 5 minutes. But let's go ahead and cut into it, see what she looks like. Now you can see I was going for a medium rare. But if that's not your flavor, just adjust your grilling time. Now let me show you why I cooked this lamb bacon. I mean, look at it. It's just like steak. And it's so tasty. So good. Just look at that. Come on. You don't want to throw this out. And there you have it. Grilled lamb chops with pesto. Right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet Kitchen. Thank you for watching, and be sure to stop by PoorMansGourmetKitchen.com for more recipes and exact ingredients. first thing you want to do is chop some garlic, and you want nice thin slices, but large pieces. Then you want to pluck fresh rosemary leaves off the stem and add them to it. In another ramekin, I'm going to add some Dijon mustard with a little bit of honey, and I'm also going to add some horseradish. Just give that a good stir. Now here I've got half a rack of lamb at room temperature, and the first thing you want to do is heavily season it with kosher salt and pepper. Flip it over and get the other side. Then to season the sides, you just pick up the rack and dab on the plate. Now in a hot pan, you want to add some butter. And let that melt down a little bit and add that rack of lamb face down on its backside. And then after about 2 minutes of searing, you can flip it back over. As you can see, it's got some great color, but you want to sneak in here with that mustard mixture and brush that in over the entire top of that rack of lamb. So this is going to add some real nice flavor to this meat, but it's also going to help this garlic and rosemary stick to the top of the lamb when it roasts. You just spread it evenly across the top and press it in with the back of a spoon, and it'll stick just fine. Now you want to just pull it off the stove, throw it in the oven, and you want to bake this at about 450 degrees for 10 minutes. And when you're done, it should look something like this. Just let it cool for about 5 minutes and you'll be ready to serve. And there you have it, garlic crusted rack of lamb right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet Kitchen. Thank you for watching, and be sure to stop by PoorMansGourmetKitchen.com for more recipes and exact ingredients. First thing you want to do is cut your garlic into thin slices. Now we need to mix some mustard marinade, and I'm going to use this wasabi paste, but you can use Chinese mustard if you prefer. Then add balsamic vinegar, some honey to sweeten up the sour, and I'm also going to add some anchovy paste. But don't let these ingredients scare you. They won't make your lamb spicy, and it's not going to taste fishy either. What it will do is neutralize the gamey flavor in the lamb. Now for a glaze, we're going to use 1 part of this black bean garlic sauce, add 1 part hoisin sauce, and 2 parts sweet chili sauce. And if you want an amazing sauce for your pan-fried, grilled, or steamed fish, this is the ticket right here. I also use it to dip my salt and pepper calamari, and it's fantastic with shrimp as well. Now here I've got a 4.5 pound leg of lamb. If you'd like, you can French the bone about 2 to 3 inches from the end by cutting in a circular motion all the way around the bone. And you won't need to remove this piece here until after it's cooked. Now you want to just make some small incisions and spread them out evenly so we can stuff the leg with garlic. If you'd like, you can even backfill with some rosemary and get aromatic, but it really won't be necessary if you follow this next step. Instead of scoring the fat side, make 1/4 inch deep slices, and you can crisscross your cuts going in between the garlic. Now drizzle olive oil over the top and rub it into the meat. Be sure to get both sides. Then come back over the top with some kosher salt and pepper. Again, be sure to get all sides. Now you want to just sear the meat over high heat, and I generally spend about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes per side. Wrapping a paper towel around the end helps to flip it back and forth. And as you can see here, we've got some good color. And color does mean flavor. Just be sure to turn it up on its end and get all sides. Now in a roasting pan, we're going to add our wasabi mix while the leg is still hot. And if you rub that into every cut, nook, and cranny, the wasabi and vinegar will attack and neutralize the oxidizing unsaturated fat, which in turn gets rid of that gamey flavor that makes it unpleasant to eat. Now if you want to cheat like I do, just skew the meat with the thermometer, cover with a lid, and throw in the center rack of your oven and slow roast this at 205 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to set my first internal temp at 120 degrees. In the meantime, it's good to prep other ingredients. Here I'm toasting some sesame seeds, and I'm going to add some fresh chopped mint. It only takes a couple minutes for these seeds to turn from white to a cream colored tan. Then you can throw them on a plate and let them cool down. As a topping, I've also added some fresh mint to some diced mango and pineapple. Checking back in on the leg of lamb, we've reached the 120 degree target temp. So far, it's looking really juicy and succulent. And as I promised, this piece can be pulled right off. Just a tad bit of cosmetics, you now have a Frenched leg bone. Now it's time to add the glaze. As you can see, this is going to add some real nice color. And the bold, sweet flavor you get from this sauce is just incredible. But we're not finished yet. You want to keep the lid off and put this back in the oven right in the center rack under the broiler. And here's what you end up with. Perfection. Now just hit it with the toasted mint and sesame seeds. Then top it with mango and pineapple. And there you have it. Leg of lamb with sweet chili glaze right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet kitchen. Thank you for watching, and be sure to stop by PoorMansGourmetKitchen.com for more recipes and exact ingredients. Here I've got a beautiful rack of lamb, and I only spent about 11 bucks. And as you can see here, it's already been partially Frenched, and it's got your standard 8 rib bone set. Also this extra layer of fat here, and if you'd like, you can go ahead and just take your blade and remove that extra fat. It's real simple to do, applying a little bit of pressure, and this flap will peel up like a piece of bacon, and you can just slice it right off. Nothing to it. Now if you flip this over on its backside, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4 riblets over and cut right down the center of this rack so you can prepare to cook a standard serving, which looks something like this. And all you need to do is throw it down on a plate and season it heavily with salt and pepper. Just make sure that you get all sides, and the ends you can just turn on its side and dab on the plate. Now in a hot pan you want to throw down some butter. Get that melted, and you're going to take that rack of lamb and set it on its backside, and we're going to start to sear. You only need to spend about 1 minute to 2 minutes on each side, depending on how tender you want your lamb chops. Now it's not necessary, but I like to get the ends as well. About 20 to 30 seconds on each side is all you're going to need. By now the rack will have beautiful color on all sides. Now all you have to do is throw that in the oven, and you want to bake this at 450 degrees for 10 minutes. And when you're done, it should look something like this. I'm going to go ahead and skew it so we can take a temperature. And we're looking at about 130. And I'm just going to throw that down on a plate and let it cool for about 5 minutes. Now on the stove you want to add a couple ounces of water to that fond, and to help thicken it up, a little bit of butter. This is going to create a wonderful au jus for that rack of lamb. And when it looks like this, it's done. Now you want to just cut these into chops by slicing between every bone. As you can see, I've got a nice medium rare pink tone to every one of these chops. And you can just throw these down on a plate with a vegetable, and I'm just keeping it simple with some green beans. Then take that au jus right over the top of that lamb. And there you have it, lamb chops right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet kitchen. Thank you for watching, and be sure to stop by PoorMansGourmetKitchen.com for more recipes and exact ingredients. Here's our rack of lamb. Now you want to trim and clean it up a bit, and it comes like this. All you do is peel off this flap here and you cut along that edge right there, and it'll come right off. Okay? Just set that aside. Now if you flip it over and look across the bottom, you can do some cleaning and touching up there. I did right here where that fat is. Not a big deal. Right here on this other side here, let's flip it around for you. This is the silver skin. Don't worry about that. You'll just hack it up if you try to remove it. Let's salt and pepper this bad boy. Make sure you get all sides of it. Press it in real good with your hand so you don't lose it when you flip it around, and get the bottom. Now searing is a very important step in this process because the more color it has, the more flavor it's going to get. So you want to do about 10 to 15 seconds per side in some olive oil. Make sure you even dip the sides in. Get the bottom of it real good. Flip it over and get the back side. And as you can see, we've got some real good color on there. See, that's beautiful. Just the way you want it. Now we're going to put some mustard on there. We're going to brush in and baste a horseradish based mustard, just to give it some good kick. If you want to use a honey Dijon, that's perfect too. Just make sure you smear it evenly, top and bottom, sides, everything, for the next stage. And then just let it sit and rest for about 5 minutes so it can soak in all that nice juicy flavor. Drop some onions in a food processor with some mint. I'm going to use some panko breadcrumbs, and we're going to season that with just some salt and pepper. Blend this thoroughly. This will be our breading for the rack of lamb. Get a good close-up look here. You can see how pureed it is. Not too fine, but just right. I like to dump it on a wide plate or pan, something that's wide enough for the rack of lamb to evenly coat all these breadcrumbs. You just spread it out here like this with your hand, and then take the whole rack right down in the center of it and roll it back and forth until it's completely covered. Flip it over on the back side. Make sure we get that completely covered. And you'll notice as I flip it up here, there's a spot between the fat and the meat of the lamb that hasn't gotten any breadcrumbs in it. So all I'll do is push this over to the side here like this, set her down, and with a spoon I could just go back over it and fill it in. Press it so it'll hold and stay. No big deal. Again, just make sure you completely cover this for the baking. When you get that finished, just pick it up by the bones, lightly shake off the excess, and place it in a baking dish. We're going to take it to the oven here at 425 degrees for about 25 minutes. After enough time's gone by, take a peek at it. It's a good time to stick a meat thermometer in there and get it about 125 if you're looking for a medium rare. But just to get up close and personal here with it so you can see how she's looking, you can see she's got a nice toasty crust on there. When you pull it out of the oven, make sure you let it rest a good 5 to 7 minutes before you cut into it. And then when it's ready, just pick it up on its end here, holding the bones, and take your knife starting between the two ribs, right down the center, right through the meat. It's a real easy cut, there's nothing to it. And it just folds apart like this. Nice, perfect color, good crunchy, crispy outside. And just dice and slice the rest of it up. Drop them one at a time. See, they're beautiful. Man, just gorgeous. Just lay them all out like that. Now, this color on here, as you can see, it's rare to medium rare, and that's the way I like it, real nice, juicy, tender. But if that's not your thing, or it's not for your guests, there's something that you can do that's very easy. Take it to your grill or take it to the stove and sear it on high heat. Just give them each a flip. And as you can see, once again, some gorgeous color. And this way it'll make everyone happy. When it comes to plating, I keep it simple, mashed potatoes and asparagus. And all you do is you prop them up here on their ends, right in the center. It's beautiful. Let's give it a little twist here, give you a better look at it. Now I'm going to introduce the orange chili sauce. A lot of people use the mint, but if you remember, we put the mint in the crust. So try this orange chili sauce. You can just get it in any Oriental or Chinese section of your store. And there you have it. A rack of lamb right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet kitchen. Beautiful color, nice crust, gorgeous.